Let's preview your new year, shall we? But let's not do it in the normal Gregorian calendar way. Let's preview your wisdom year. Let's preview this new year according to the Wheel of Wisdom calendar. By doing this, you're going to be able to look forward in your year and realize what belongs where, what you should do when, how to align with the natural cycles and the seasons. Because come on, let's face it, we often forget to. We're not living by the light of the moon anymore. We have electric lights. We're not living connected to the earth anymore. We have square houses and we stay indoors all day. We're not connected to the creatures and the natural forces and even weather in the same way that we used to be. And so we need new ways to stay connected to our own nature, the nature of our creation, the nature of how we create and how we're most productive. So I want to introduce you, if you haven't seen it before, to the Wheel of Wisdom. The Wheel of Wisdom is a map that I created with support from my Apache mama, Maria Yesbrew. This isn't exactly what came from her tradition. It's more like something we extrapolated so that modern folk like us could follow it. And yes, it does follow along with the months of the Gregorian calendar because that's the one we're using. So let's look at where we're at, right? Here we are in January, we're moving into February. See that number 12 in the middle of the Wheel of Wisdom there? It says the void because those months in the middle are kind of the void, aren't they? They're when you're in the darkness of winter. And here we are, still in the darkness of winter, and we're sitting with the archetype of ourselves. What does that mean? It means that January is the perfect time for you to be thinking into what your intentions are for this new year, kind of sketching them out, but not getting too specific, not getting too granular yet, because we're still in winter. It's still the quiet, dark time. So take the pressure off yourself this month is what my recommendation would be. Take the pressure off, go slow. You're still in the winter mode, but begin to use your foresight as the architect of your own life to consider what you want for yourself. And I'll refer you to another video that I have here on how to set intentions, because you don't want to set New Year's intentions like you're making a thing on your to-do list. You want it to feel like rocket fuel to your life. So check out that separate video on that. Now, where do we go from here? Guess what? We're about to emerge from the underworld into, look at the one at the bottom. It says number 1. It says February. That's where we're headed next, my friend. It's the first step on the outer circle. And in February, we embody the adventurer archetype. It's where our energy's coming back into us. And some of us go a little stir crazy because the weather's still kind of dark and rainy, but we're ready to kind of roll. And this is where the spring tide in nature is rising in the ground. It's not yet spring, but there's a warming that's beginning to happen in the earth, a thawing. And it happens in our bodies and in our hearts too. So it brings the enthusiasm. See where that's written on the outside of the circle? It brings the gift of enthusiasm back into our lives after sort of a long, dark winter. We start to feel enthusiastic. So what have you got planned for February? What have you got planned to utilize that enthusiasm? And check it out. There's the conception is written on that circle that has the number 1 on it. See that? And conception is the life passage that aligns with this archetype and with that month. Think about it. It's your bulbs are just starting to sprout. It's the time of conception. The earth is beginning to warm and we're beginning to conceive of what's next. And things are just starting to sprout, but even though they're not pushing through the soil to the surface yet. As you can tell, this Wheel of Wisdom is pretty deep, And it's a map of how the creative cycle works in nature, but also in our lives. So let's move into March. That one's associated with the life passage of birth. And it also brings us into a state of more embodiment when spring is springing and we move into the archetype of the creature. That's the part of ourselves that is in touch with our bodies, that knows that we're creatures, we're animals, we're spirits, but we're living inside these meat suits. And that energy in March of the springtime is when we really feel our bodies begin to come back to life after the winter. And then we move into April. And there we find our choice, because as soon as you're in the body, you also can feel your power of choosing. You know, spirit doesn't really have choice. We're the ones in the bodies. We're the ones who do the choosing. And so this is a sacred gift in the archetype of yourself as sovereign, who chooses and discerns. And that's why in the Wisdom Collective, we do some really fun clearings to get rid of all the gunk, all the rules and the belief structures that maybe were trained into us as kids accidentally, or maybe they're just outgrown. But when we free ourselves from the rules that don't apply anymore and the limitations we place on ourselves accidentally, then we can step into this sovereign queen self who is really at choice about what happens in her life. Next, and naturally, we move into the archetype of the Fool. Like, this is our silly pants month. This is May. And if you check it out, man, the Celtic traditions, indigenous traditions all over the world celebrate May with like festivities. It's like the height of the fertility of the land. And it's when everybody gets kind of spunky and playful. So plan ahead for this. As you're now setting your calendar for the next year, you can use the Wheel of Wisdom to help you identify what energies are right for which month. Moving into June and the power of the co-creator. It's the power initiation. It also is the teenage puberty initiation point. It's when the sun is highest and longest in the sky here in the Northern Hemisphere. All the power of the sun is infusing us, lighting us up, just like we felt when we were in puberty and our hormones were firing us up. We have that every June, this burst of solar power. It's a great time for co-creating, for creating from our own ability to create. That's the same power that's awakened during puberty, literally the power to create another human being. And July, the month of the specialist, with the gift of purpose. July is such a great month to get some stuff figured out, isn't it? There's plenty of light in the sky. And you've just been through this big solar empowerment, which leaves you knowing your purpose and your gifts. This is the one that I made the soul gift quiz for. And if you haven't taken it, go take the quiz. Soul, SOUL, giftquiz.com. In just 2 minutes, we'll show you your deepest gift, your specialty, the specialty of your soul. And then August, we move into the contributor archetype, which is the part of ourselves that really wants to serve. How do we serve? What job should we have? You know, this is where my business mentorship comes in. It's why I have a business mentorship, because choosing the way you serve and daring to get paid for your service, I think, is one of the most profound initiations that we have as adult human beings. And so business for me is part of the path. It's not like business and money are over here and then my spirituality is over here. For me, and maybe for you too, I center my business and my life around my spirit, around my gifts, around my joy of co-creating with spirit and earth. So that's how I roll, baby. And then the sage archetype comes in the month of September, where we start to deepen into the autumn and we begin to see the trees letting go of their leaves. And we get closer to that point of death, which is really just a transition into the underworld, right? It's a transition into spirit. But this is where we stop pushing and pushing and contributing and serving, and we relax backwards into our wisdom. Well, obviously, I'm a fan of wisdom. Not only is it the last step on the outer circle here, but it's the Wheel of Wisdom is the name of the thing I'm sharing with you right now. My main personal development memberships are called the Wisdom Collective and the Wisdom Mastermind. So I'm into wisdom, clearly. And from here, where do we go? We surrender into death. Well, okay, that sounds a little like depressing for some people, but I don't see death as just that one moment where you actually stop breathing and leave the planet. Death happens to us cyclically, regularly, over and over, every time we're faced with a loss that requires us to surrender into the loss, that really shifts our identity as we pass through it. And that has happened to you more than once, let's be honest. So here in the year, it's associated with the month of October. Hello, Halloween, All Souls Day, All Saints Day, Day of the Dead into the beginning of November. And November is the shadow dancer month, the month when we really clear out what we no longer need, where we face the shadows we've been scared to look at in ourselves, and we let them cleanse. And then December is the month of the hermit. And ideally, we would all be in our caves, very quiet, resting a lot in the month of December. And so when you're in my programs in the collective, we do things to help ourselves stay in that hermit mode, even while the busy holiday season is going on. Because if you can manage to rest your spirit and to use the dark months of the year for visioning and for resting, then you're ready. When you come out into February, you have your energy and you've upgraded your power, your wealth quotient, your awareness of yourself by tending those dark months. Now, again, I wasn't raised with a calendar like this. I didn't know about a circular energetic calendar like this until I met Maria Yesbrew, my Apache mama, who's a ceremonialist and carries the traditions of her people. And she showed me the medicine wheel, which is a 24 stone spiraling calendar. It's a lunar calendar, new moon, full moon, full moon for a year. And while this is not that, Maria helped me to create this one, because this one goes by our Gregorian months, and it still has the essence of cyclical living in a form that we can actually follow and understand in our modern lives, in our modern world. So I hope that this little introduction to the months of the year according to the Wheel of Wisdom can help you plan your year ahead in a way that aligns with these natural energies. And if you have interest in really playing with this month by month, this is our map in the Wisdom Collective, the Wisdom Mastermind, and even my business mentorship and my higher mentorships. We use this map as the rubric to tend each part of ourselves. Each one of these archetypes is a different part of you that wants some love, that wants some attention, that wants some development. And utilizing this kind of map in this cycle, wow, it really accelerates learning and healing and gives us a beautiful rhythm to the community that we enjoy together. So I invite you, come and check out the Wisdom Collective. For starters, it's under $50 a month, and it's a beautiful weekly masterclass with me and my master teachers, and learning how to drop into your intuitive intelligence in your own way with just enough structure like this to give it meaning and ground without pinching you or creating new dogmas or religiosity. The people that are in there are really finding it useful. It's making their lives a lot easier and more fun, as well as the camaraderie possible when we track these things. It's so awesome, and I'd love to have you in there. So if you are a wise woman, or if you are not a woman but would feel very comfortable being in a woman-centered space and able to be in your feminine there, then you should come check us out, the Wisdom Collective. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening.